Well, I just feel like I'm a better person. I want to say I'm a different person, but I'm a better person.
Antonio Brown cussed out the police, cussed out his baby mama, and threw a bag of gummies shaped like penises at her.
The police can't even know what to do. They gotta call other niggas.
Considered one of the greatest wide receivers of his generation. Off the field,
he should be ashamed of himself.
He's a team destroyer.
He is the kind of player I would never, ever want to play for.
All right, welcome back to another episode of OPM and Beyond, where we discuss, you guessed it, other people's money in order to learn more about ourselves and create generational wealth. I'm your host, E. Rains. It's been a little minute, but we're back. So what I want to do is I want to talk today about a hot button issue, at least for me, or a hot button topic, I should say, was the Antonio Brown issue when it came to him leaving his NFL team, walking basically off the field and leaving the team. Some would say quitting on the team. However, that's really up to debate significantly when it comes to the facts behind that, whether or not he was terminated and forced to leave. So that's pretty much the facts. He was terminated on site. But anyway, beyond all of that, one of the interesting conversation pieces I think that comes out of that is more so about the beyond portion of OPMB, right? The beyond portion of, in the pursuit of trying to get money, to become financially solvent and stable and create generational wealth, how much mental anguish, how much personal detriment should one go through when it comes to trying to be in pursuit of that, when it comes to making sure that, you're working every day, you're in society, you're a contributing member, but how much punishment should you take? How much mental anguish, how much abuse should you have to endure in the pursuit of those goals, right? And I think it's really important to talk about because it's something that impacts everyone to a certain degree. I'm sensitive to it as an African American male in America. United States of America, where there are some there's some vestiges of an antiquated system that will typically be negative or have additional negative impacts on African Americans in the professional sphere and institutionally, kind of in every institution in America. So, but other people have other things that impact them as well, mental health things, which is something that definitely comes up in this interview. And the interview I'm referencing to for you all, I should have started with that, is that there was an interview with I Am Athlete that, first of all, I Am Athlete is an incredible platform. I love everything about it. There's something kind of special there. I'll probably end up speaking about Brandon Marshall and I Am Athlete in some sort of separate capacity as well in the future, because it's something I think that's pretty special. So, but it was a interview that was conducted there, and I actually reached out to Brandon Marshall on Instagram, I believe, saying, hey, I think you should probably have this conversation with him. Being that there's a component of mental health, and you would just be able to, with your background, have a conversation with him, hopefully like in a two-part situation, where you discussed, or not discuss mental health itself, but allowed Antonio Brown to give his viewpoint on things with a consideration to mental health, right? And so I think they were planning on doing this interview anyway, which is great because we get a chance to kind of delve into different aspects of it. But I really want to go into that aspect of, where do you draw the line, as an individual, in terms of your goals, what you want to do, what the financial goals that you have, even the accolades and different things that you would shoot for in your various professions. Where do you draw that line to where you say, hey, it's not worth this, right? It's not worth this level of abuse. It's not worth this type of attack on me personally. It's not worth this or that. So I definitely wanted to take a look at that and explore it a bit, because we can talk about money all day, but we also have to talk about the health implication of, the benefit. Does the burden outweigh the benefit? And so that's one thing I think we should get into here with this particular topic. So without further ado, we shall talk about this interview that Brandon Marshall is doing again with some other folks, Swaggy P and such, here at I Am Athlete, with Antonio Brown. Let's check it out.
You know how the show is. It's the same thing, come with just saying. Right.
Pretty amazing, man. Giving people
Right.
opportunity.
So he's heard of the platform. That's good.
Bring some bread, so I'm ready.
All eyes is on AB. There's so many things that come out of moments like this. The dude took his shirt off. He does that. Now he's at the center of the conversation. Not only sports, but also culture. We don't know if he reacted or if he responded. Reacting is emotional. Responding is calculated. Let's really have a real conversation.
All right, so I'm going to pause
Let's
there,
hear
right
from
there,
him.
41 seconds real quick, and just, I'll pause right there. So that's really interesting, right? The distinction between reacting and responding. So based upon Brandon Marshall's understanding, or what he's trying to draw as the distinction, is that when you react, it's something that's more so momentary, being in the moment, and really not based upon having any thought process behind it, what the consequences would be to that, and whether or not it would be positive to do so in terms of your long-term goals and planning. And responding is more of having had that thought process, understanding weighing the pros and cons, the benefits, and the potential hindrances that may come about due to the activity that you would be engaging in the moment. So it's really important, because in this particular instance, we need to know that, right, in terms of where Antonio's head is at, is was this calculated, or was it something that you have not weighed the pros and cons to, and that could have a negative implication on your professional career, at least in this sphere, because he can do many different things in terms of making money in different ways. But in terms of being an athlete, being on the field in the NFL, was this activity that you engaged in representative of you making a conscious decision or a momentary reaction? Very important. So we can continue. That looks fun. I mean, they turn up a little bit before their interviews. So.
The coach told me, get the F out, you cut. Oh yeah, I would have snapped on the coach, but I wouldn't have did that. I would have walked up to him like this, and I'd be like, you motherfucker, when we get in the locker, I'm gonna slap the shit out of your ass.
You told him that for real?
That's what Bruce Arians told him. But you can't do that. You know there's 20 cameras in a stadium, bro. Like,
No, I low-key probably did that too, though.
huh?
I probably did that too. Like, walked off?
Right. You'd have walked
stayed
up.
on the field. Nah, hell no. If he told me I'm cut right there.
That's what he said.
But
See, Swaggy not going for it. Swaggy P, he not going for it, and that kind of gives some credence to Antonio Brown. Each of them may have handled it a different way, but okay. Now I want to say this. Now, when you're going through a situation like this and your name is being talked about in the media or whatever, if you're going to show up, this is how you show up. Fly. Getting a haircut on top of the haircut you already have. Just show up, fly.
The metaverse.
Wow.
We had to fight to get a meal.
Side note to I Am Athlete. I don't know if you would call this like cinematography or what have you, but or B-roll. I Am Athlete is A1 at the B-roll.
But in the past bad, work up in the trash bag. I'll pass a lot to take the test
Clean.
before I pass class. And my family needed bread, I had to come correct. That's why I keep airing it out like I just passed gas.
That past gas line in their song always kind of threw me off, but we can get to that later.
You hear AB?
All right, here we go.
At the palace. I want to know what
They
that
be in
means.
the house.
Hey, yeah, right. He said a little bit. he said.
Hitting out the palace.
AB, you owe us about 100 push-ups too, and
That's it?
conduct detrimental to the team. You asked 3 hours late.
Whatever you want.
3 hours.
He said, whatever you
Man,
want.
the things you go through to try to
Nah,
get the
but for real, I
interview.
want to pay homage. Appreciate you lending the crib, getting us out to LA. My big brother, my mentor in business, AB, founder, CEO of Sunday to Sunday.
So when did you record that?
Probably 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So did you record a bunch of music that you've been sitting on for a while? See, now that's one of the things that happened with me, where it's like none of my writing I actually felt comfortable with, or anything that I did separate from football that I feel comfortable with until I was done, right? Because it almost felt like, you know, I felt fraudulent, like trying to write on the plane after a game, right? While everybody else was like reviewing film.
Wait, you writing like raps?
No, just
poetry. You like
writing,
poems.
yeah. Not poems, but
I'm about to say, you're not a rapper.
observation.
First of all,
no, observation.
Swaggy up here.
Yeah, observation.
Sick as I don't know
politics,
what,
all kinda
deep breathing through. I don't know if he got the, you know,
All types of shit.
I don't know if he
That's
got
crazy
that,
that it was 2 years
that
ago.
you know
That was
what
a big
or what have you,
question.
but he's definitely
Took
not
off his
well
shirt,
at the
MetLife
moment.
Stadium, boom. He's right. Everybody was like, oh, what's next? It's calculated. A song dropped. This was all staged. It was planned.
I mean, yeah, I wrote the song 2 years ago. I kind of made it talking to my Uncle Corey, who on the chorus, being on the phone with him, you know, going through a lot, talking to my uncle, like, you know, about the decisions and moves I need to make. Usually when I talk to him, he don't never really agree sometimes. So.
Yeah, so pausing that real quick at 6:45. So yeah, like this portion is just kind of talking about how there, you know, he basically Antonio Brown dropped a song, you know, following this incident, and people kind of thought that maybe his activity on the field in terms of him exiting the way he did maybe was a lead up to him switching to like a, you know, music career and kind of using that as a rollout, so to speak, because these days there's no telling what's involved in somebody's rollout. It's the craziest stuff. And I mean, people file divorce papers falsely trying to, you know, do rollouts nowadays. It's no telling. So the question is just basically about whether or not, again, to that conversation of being calculated, like what was this about? So apparently he was sitting on top of music that he already had. He did a little bit of modification to it to make it kind of fit the situation and then put it out.
Now, was your uncle a biblical man?
Yeah, he real spiritual.
Yeah.
He played football too, so he kind of understand the ins and outs of the game. You know, Corey Fuller, he played with Cleveland Browns a long time, Florida State.
Because, you know, Pit to the Palace was, you know, it's a biblical reference of Joseph.
Yeah.
You know.
Came from nothing and got everything, right?
Yeah, man. So I didn't
Brother
know.
knowledge, bro.
You know what I mean?
Brother knowledge.
It's interesting.
I didn't know that.
No, I'm serious, right?
Yeah.
It is, man. It is.
Come from nothing and make something, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause right
that's
there.
good, man.
808. Yeah, so nothing to something. That's something that Pit to Palace is something that Antonio Brown often tweets about or says, or it's something that follows him, that he follows, that is a part of his life. So just always the realization of where you came from, and that, you know, taking that forward, never forgetting that Pit to Palace thing of like came from nothing, and this is what I was able to achieve. It's kind of something that you always kind of remember, that you are in essence a creator. You can create things, you can bring things towards you, you can work hard and make a way for yourself. It's kind of like an American, the American dream type of thing, right? Where you always keep that confidence in yourself to say that you have the ability to do that. Which also can be one of the reasons why Antonio Brown can be so flippant about, certain situations and make individual decisions for himself that other people may not do in a moment, because he feels that at any given moment he can create that next move, he can create that wealth, he can create that palace based upon his hard work, and thus far it has proven true to his credit. So I think that's one of those things that allows him to carry himself and carry on in the way that he does. So let's see if that comes back up later as well.
Really
So I guess my question to you, AB, is 2019, like how do you take that story and what that means and translate that to what you were going through?
I mean, you can look at it from so many forms of angle. You know, I started in Pittsburgh. I started as a young player, 22-year-old. I didn't have nothing. You know, so to be able to work yourself up and get to the palace. But in regards to his story, you know, you never know how like mentally you are, how people write about you, how they treat you, or what you got to go through. You know what I mean? Some people could put you in the pit just off the narrative people create of you or how people think about you. But it's just a form of statement in your mind, you know, how you feel. Life is about what you believe within yourself. So
I didn't want to go this deep, Swaggy, to start the show. Like, I thought we was going to ease into that. I wanted to start off like, you know, more on a LA vibe. Like, we in LA. And I really wanted to say, like, and I'm being honest with this, bro. Like, my energy, how I'm about to come at you, this is real. Bro, how the hell you standing next to Madonna, Kanye, Floyd?
That was legendary.
Right, like.
That was legendary.
You know what I'm saying? Like, explain that.
I don't know why people
You know
care
what I'm
about that
saying?
so
'Cause we in
much.
LA, you on the LA
but
vibe right
I guess.
they with me too, though.
now. Ooh,
Exactly.
what you mean?
I'm that boy, you heard?
That's that confidence.
Nah, it's true, though.
Yeah.
100%. I still want to dive a little deeper into this Madonna. What does she smell like? What does she look like?
Now, listen, she worry about me.
Now Brandon is just
I was
playing.
like, yo, you standing next to Floyd, Madonna, Ye.
And right now you.
And there's
probably
a
the
couple
most
others. I don't
talked
even know
about
their
right now.
names, but I know
Yeah.
they iconic because they was with Kanye. Can you like give us that moment? Like I want to know what the music, what the vibe was like, what the smell was like.
I don't know what the smell
Right,
is.
like come on, bro. Like let us live through you. I'm trying to live through you. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Kanye a genius, man. You know, you'd be sadder to be around a guy like that with great energy, the culture of rap, fashion. So it's great to be around an icon. You know, we don't take it for granted. Creative genius. So,
What makes Kanye special?
well, he just got the mindset, work ethic, creativity.
I got a lot in common.
What you say? I'm crazy?
You say that again?
What you trying to say? I'm crazy?
Wait a minute. Oh, you see how that energy kind of switch up for a second? Now, interesting. That's interesting, right? How, you know, just that one comment that Brandon Marshall made, I would say that Antonio Brown took about 2 or 3 logical leaps. They were logical, but he took about 2 or 3 leaps based upon what Brandon Marshall said. So that's kind of like a game of, you know, just take this for yourself too. One of the best games you can play when you're having like disagreements with people is I said this, you heard what? Because a lot of times somebody can say something and you've gone a little bit further than them, and you may sometimes if people are playing on your intelligence, they might act like that's not where they were really going, and it is. But other times you may have literally made too many logical leaps based upon what they said, so you got to pull it back a little bit. And so what he heard was, because of the viewpoint of Kanye West in the public, he heard in his head that, oh, because people say Kanye is crazy, you're saying I'm crazy because we got a lot in common. But that may or may not be where Brandon was going at the time. I'm going to lean towards not, because of Brandon's background and history when it comes to being sensitive to mental health. So I think he's going to discuss more about it. But I just thought that was kind of interesting how the sensitivity that Antonio Brown has to those assertions or those insinuations based upon everything that's been said about him in the recent and somewhat distant past.
I think that
crazy, low key. What's good crazy?
Good crazy.
You calling them crazy? So
Good
you
crazy.
calling AB crazy?
Crazy get you money nowadays.
Swagger keep it 10,000.
So when my statement around you guys are a lot alike is more so disruptive. I'm a disruptive.
Disruptive, okay.
And I'm like, I have empathy because I'm like, yo, I can understand why he may think that way or why he may do that. So my statement, it has nothing to do with that because I don't know your mental health. I don't know that.
Obviously, you know, a lot of your interviews right now are, you know, going viral and going everywhere. And I think that's one of the ones I was interested in was the Full Send podcast, because I think you articulated really well about CTE, right? And that's one thing I've been focused on. You probably don't know much about what I've been doing after my career, but one of the things that I focus on was CTE. So of course, you know, I get messages, he gets messages, we all get messages when we're talking about mental health and stuff like that. And that's one of the biggest things that I saw was that you actually knew and understood, right, that CTE is something that after the fact, right, they can only tell when you're dead, right? There's a lot of players that don't know that. There's a lot of players that are scared of it, right, without even knowing any of the facts. So have you researched it? Did you talk to any doctors about it? Because I think the thing is that what you said was poignant. It was on point because there's a lot of players that can't even articulate how they feel about CTE because they're scared to. So.
Yo, and knowledge is everything, and playing the game, you know, you want to research the game and know what we signed up for.
Yeah.
And you want to live a long time, you know, the purpose of life is to be living. So part of living, you got to understand what the game means, what the games come with. And
I'm pausing right here because, again, one of the reasons I pulled this whole conversation out was because I wanted to know how someone factors in the cost, you know, the cost of being an athlete at his level, you know, performing at the highest of levels, right, in your craft and in your field, and how you take into account the detriment that maybe performing in this craft can have on you, right? And to this point during this interview, Antonio Brown seems very aware, you know, of a lot of things that, you know, in terms of being sharp and understanding kind of like, you know, understanding the lay of the land, the environment, and what you're giving up, what you're sacrificing, you know, for what you hope to gain. Sounds like he's aware thus far. And to the other interviewer's point, maybe even more so than other individuals in his field. Because, you know, only those who actually play kind of know what the environment is like for players. And apparently it's not as discussed because people are either fearful of it, so they just don't go down that lane, or they're just not knowledgeable. So it sounds like Antonio Brown is more ahead of the curve here, understanding the full cost of the benefit he seeks.
No, it makes sense. You know, I filmed a documentary for the past like 4 years, and it took a lot of studying and reading for me to kind of actually talk about this. Because during my career, I was scared to even talk about it because I didn't even want to entertain it. You know, just because you entertain it, all of a sudden you hesitate.
I'm a straight shooter, come right at you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, well, let's get into
part
it.
Of my job now, post career, right? Like this forum, and it's a safe place. I'm always going to protect the athlete because I am an athlete. You know, I've been through it, and I understand it, the good, the bad, the ugly. You unstrap your helmet, you take your helmet off.
Okay, we're going to walk through it.
Your jersey off. And this is my way of being funny.
funny.
Then you take your jersey off, you unstrap your pads, because you got boom, boom, right? Or you bam. It's different. You don't know about this.
I don't know about that.
Okay, then you take your shoulder pad off. I don't know if you had. Did you wear undershirt?
Come on, Brandon.
You wear under? I used to wear undershirts.
Are you a free baller?
Yeah, a free baller. I felt sexy.
Yeah.
And so you do that, bro. You run out. You throw the peace sign, and so everybody watching, the world watching.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the conversation, AB's mental health, CTE, that conversation. That's everybody. That's what's going on. So like I like really go deep and go. Give me your perspective around that conversation.
But anytime a black man, African American male, become a target or become a forefront or a face of anything, you know, it's just unfortunate. You know, imagine yourself putting yourself in my shoes as a football player. You just won a Super Bowl with a team. You won the team. You give them your all. You know, I was out since week 6 with a torn deltoid ligament, and imagine the coach tell you like, get the out of here. You done. Like, you hurt. They know you're hurt. They know what it is.
You did that on the Full Send podcast, because that's important.
Yeah,
Did he do that?
Yeah, you done. So I'm trying to, in that moment, I'm already mad, you know, because I can't really, you know how you feel when you hurt, you already a little frustrated.
Okay, state of mind.
So I'm trying to fathom, like he just said, get the out of here and you done.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So like, yo, I came with this team, man. I'm with you guys. Like, I'm wearing your guys' uniform, man. I'm representing you guys right now. I'm sacrificing my health to be out here with you. I just got a text from you prior to the game. You said, hey, man, just come with us. If you could go, just give us what you got. So I already had an understanding with the coach. You know what I mean? And then to come to the game and then I give him what I got and tell him, yo, I can't go no more. For him to come and be like, yo, get the fuck out of here, you done.
Was that mid-game?
Yeah, during the game. So in my mind, I'm like,
Yeah, he lives on the farm, so he don't know all of this.
oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
No pressure. Yeah, so.
Because the thing is, I get flashbacks to my own anger, right? Sometimes it was justified, and sometimes it wasn't. Yeah. There was times I was yelling at coaches, and sometimes coaches yelling at me. So that was the thing. It was like, you know, obviously when you get bombarded with a bunch of messages about somebody else being in a similar position that you've been, you know, there's a lot of things that people don't know, but at the same time, I sat there and I reviewed the tape. Was there anything I could have done differently? Right. You know, could I handled it differently? Now, you know, I was just a 3-4 defensive end, you know, taking double teams.
Yeah, but listen, we are from different places, bro. Like, the way you off, it may not be the way we'll do it. You know, we all got different looks on life, on how we react. You know, if a guy pushed you in school, I don't know what you might have did. If a guy pushed me in school, I know what law I live on, what we would have did. So when I know a coach and the team ain't got my back and the situation where I'm hurt and you telling me to get the out of there, ain't no more professional. But I don't want to wear your
This is interesting to me because so we kind of got a little brief walkthrough of like, you know, what happened, what AD was thinking in the moment, you know, and kind of a setting given the context, right? And so in the heat of a game, his coach kind of tells him, hey, if you're not going to do what I want you to do, get out of here. You're done. You're off the team. You know, there's physical, you know, foreshadowing of what's to come. Like, get out of here. Like, and so even though he reacts in the moment, there's parts of this that feel like based upon his code or where he comes from, this has already been thought through in terms of his response at any given moment based upon whatever the stimulus is, right? So there's a part of it that's like it's very reactionary based upon what's happening, but that doesn't mean you haven't thought about these type of situations before, what you would do, how you would respond, right? And it sounds like he's saying, hey, listen, guys, we all come from different walks of life. We all respond and treat things differently, but the way he describes it, it's as if it's not a in the moment response. It's more of a, this is the code that I live by, and this is how I treat these type of things. If you, in the midst of a game, in the midst of the heat of battle, what have you, you know, so to speak, while you're actually performing your craft on the field, or, you know, on the sideline preparing to perform your craft. If you then tell me I'm no longer part of this, right, and you cut ties, you cut the team ties and all of that sort of thing, then I'm out. So it seems as if, you know, it was, you know, cogitated in a sense that, okay, if I receive this type of stimulus, this is what it is, just based upon, you know, my background. And what also gives credence to that is the fact that even after the fact, you know, he's like, that was, you know, it is what it is. Like, so you'll see other interviews and things. You may hear some, I feel like there's a little bit of waffling because I think I've heard in some instances where he said like, maybe I could have did it differently, this and that. But by and large, it seems like he's kind of standing on it, right? Based upon what took place. So I still feel like there's parts of it that's very reactionary and hot-headed, but it sounds like the comfort level he has with his decisions in these particular instances let me know that he's thought about it before. And that just is what it is, right? And he doesn't really plan on changing that. So I would have to give him more credit for being more controlled than it would seem in the public, that, you know, to say that he's not necessarily in control, he's, you know, is CTE damaged or whatever like that. See, in his mind, it seems that he thinks it's very logical and he follows it, right? He can explain it to you in a very detailed manner and logical manner. He'll explain it to you. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of reactionary aspect to it, but definitely based upon his code, his personal code, which means he's thought about it before.
I'm getting the out
But
of here.
before all of that, did you have a good relationship with him?
Nah, man, I've been working with these guys under the restrictions though. They never wanted AB. Tom wanted AB.
This is the tough position I'm in. Cause I'm with you. Why you ain't go to ESPN? Why you ain't talk to ESPN?
Listen,
FS1,
son,
or like a 60.
I'm not running no campaigns for no people to be sorry for me.
No, I'm asking you a question. They got a job to do, right? And this is the tough spot. It's like we had Cam, we had D Wade, and we had tough conversations. And this is why I love our platform, is because it's the locker room. And also in the locker room, we kumbaya, we do that, but also like we have OGs that we, to help us and mold us and shape us.
But the OGs don't help. What OGs?
There's some OGs.
Who? Name them.
Rod Smith for me. My
So
OG
the
was
OGs
Rod
don't
Smith.
Yeah, but they
Who
help
was your
you.
OG?
My OG up. Gilbert Arena.
But you had an OG
You
though.
picked up the
No,
drink
listen,
on
but there
that
ain't
one.
enough leadership of people that say, yo, when you do this, this messed up. When you did this, man, I ain't respect that.
You ain't had no OG in football?
All right, hold on. I'm
In the
pressing
locker room?
All
pause.
you
What
guys
is it?
want to be.
This is where I start to have an issue. This part. Don't blame the manner in which you handle things on another man. You a grown man with several children, if I remember correctly. So you saying like the OGs didn't do this, we don't have enough leadership. Whether that be true or not, you are responsible. Hey, look, the OG's not getting a portion of whatever, however many millions that your check is coming. Per season or whatever, per year, per contract, whatever it is. So that's you getting that check, right? So you need to be responsible and hold yourself to account for your activities. Now, it's great when other people step in to give guidance. As a matter of fact, it's preferred, but you're ultimately responsible for that. No other man or woman, man or woman, whoever, you're responsible for your activity. So I don't really quite jive with that, because in addition to the fact that I really don't think Antonio listens to anybody. So, I mean, I think that he may listen to you. I'm not sure how much he takes to heart what individuals say, or how much that actually plays into his decision making. So it's a little bit of a cop out to be blaming other people for not stepping in and helping you make your decisions. It's great if they can help, but it's on you. So I'm not really rocking with that too much.
The guy, like you said, you got the new deal over Larry Fitzgerald. Like the Larry Fitzgerald not even here. But in your mind, your mental health, that what made you feel like that was logic. You see what I'm saying?
No, I wanted to be your OG.
You wasn't my OG though. You helped me I had to pull up to your facility.
That's right.
All right, so that's me being a young guy coming to learn. It wasn't no OG where you like, little bro, I know you gonna be special. Like, you just let me know. You ain't let the people know, like, yo, man, I'm working with AB, woo, woo.
No, this is remember I said.
But you don't owe me
story.
that. Listen, you don't owe me that, bro. You got kids. Nobody owe you nothing. All I'm saying,
Of course
the
not. He
leadership,
don't owe you
man,
nothing.
If Swaggy P was to do something wrong,
Nobody
I'm
owe
here
you
Swaggy
anything.
like, Swaggy, dog, I felt that way you did, but I ain't respect this.
Right.
It's not enough of that going on. It's just like, guys just feel like they could say anything. You can't play with me like,
right.
on like, you know what I mean, on the for real. Like, what you think you could just?
But that's why I struggle in the locker room.
So I'm confused as to what the message is here. Because on the one hand, you're saying, oh, it's not enough OGs taking the responsibility, for stepping in and helping somebody and be like, hey, I didn't respect this. I don't respect that, like what you did. First of all, what he's referencing is some after the fact aftermath of things, right? When you've already made the poor decisions you're going to make and somebody else have to come and tell you, hey, that was bad. You can't figure that out on your own. Like you didn't, nothing clicked in your head to say, hey, I probably shouldn't have did that. That's on you. Again, I don't understand how this even comes into play for you blaming other people that you don't plan on listening to, because out the same mouth you say, or the other corner of your mouth you say, well, I can't really get OGs because they all want to be me. They all want to be that guy. So they want to come in and they want to talk to you and say any kind of thing, any kind of way. Okay, wait a minute. So do you want them to be an OG or not? OG not gonna say everything the way you like it. That now they don't have to be disrespectful, but somebody else coming in, give you some game on something or whatever like that. Ain't nobody catering to you. Like this, like if you want guidance, get the guidance. You know, if it's from and different people will lend themselves to you, will be more conducive to the way you communicate and that sort of thing. But you can't find anybody. Nobody suits your criteria for OG. I would venture to say something is wrong with you, not in terms of like mentally, but that if you haven't found anybody that you can look to for proper guidance because of the way either they come at you or them wanting to be you or whatever in the third, if there's no one suitable, again, I think that falls on you. I really don't believe that there's nobody who can give you any knowledge who don't want to be you or who all wants to be you or whatever. Like I really think I think that you wouldn't have listened anyway. Antonio Brown to me feels like one of those people who they have to touch the stove and skin has to come off before they really get it, right? Like before they really take something to heart. I don't think talking to Antonio really helped with about anything. So I'm just not rocking with this portion of it. It's a really odd way for someone who is as intelligent as he is and understands pros and cons, consequences, and chooses to do things his own way anyway, for you to then say other people, everybody else is failing you, everybody else. I think it is a cop-out, and it doesn't fit, point blank.
The first half of my career, because the same mentality. But hold on, this whole thing, this is when I knew you was special. This is when, Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl, 100 catch after 100 catch, whatever. And so Mike Evans, I was trying to create an environment where the receivers, pass catchers, even tight ends, running backs can come together and we can learn. This dude, this is before he made it, signed a big deal. We go to Tequesta Park. We got everybody. Mike Evans out there. Y'all ain't played together then. Mike Evans out there. He's a rookie. We got a couple other people out there, big name cats. This dude pull up in a drop top Rolls Royce. At first, I was like, what the? I'm like,
flashing.
What are they doing?
What was that?
Pulling up.
I never even seen a Rolls Royce back then. I'm the money
Pulling
man. He
up.
didn't even have his big deal. He pulled up in a drop top Rolls Royce. Boom, come out, no shirt on. Come out on the field, and I'm the OG out there, and I'm trying to get game. Boom, 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 boom. You looked at me, and this is when I knew you was special. You looked at me and you said, OG, this is how you catch the ball. Wherever the ball go, put your nose on the ball. And I sat back, I ain't say nothing to you. Cause I'm like, that's what I mean, but I was trying to be your OG, cause I was like, let me give back to you. But I actually learned from you that day. You taught me how to catch the ball better.
You really do that though?
This is a true story. And in my mind, when he first started talking to me, I'm like, who is he to tell me how to catch the ball? I just had 105 catches.
But that's what's wrong with our OGs. They ain't really respecting how the young boys feeling. Like, if I'm saying this is how I'm feeling. You already proven. I'm a young G trying to get to where you at, bro. I can't get there if everything I say, you just finna little boy me. Bro,
That's exactly what I said. What I just said, like everything that Brandon Marshall just said, explaining that story. Earlier, he said that Brandon Marshall wasn't his OG. He didn't fit the criteria for his OG. Brandon Marshall's story says that he referenced Brandon Marshall as OG to his face. He's telling him the story. You referenced him as OG. And when you came in through the door, you was giving tips instead of taking them. And he listened to you, and it helped him understand and realize your greatness in the moment, even though he stood in the stature of an OG. And he took that in, and he didn't dismiss you. But you saying Brandon is not qualified to be your OG. But he's a person who can take as well as give criticism. Your story don't make no sense when it comes to you trying to say OG's not in place to do this and that. That alone by itself tells me you're not suited to be a student when there's teachers around. You're just not, you won't accept it or allow it. So all that, what you were talking about is irrelevant. As far as I'm concerned, it's not even a factor, because you want to be a teacher in every room instead of understanding the importance of being a student in the right moments.
Grown man, end of the day.
But here's what I did though. I ain't
No
say
matter
that. You
the
don't even remember that
age.
story.
But I'm
You don't
just
even
saying.
know. You don't even remember.
No, I love
taught
you.
me
I'm
that.
just saying in general, as
know.
older G's, we gotta be able to bring up the young guys.
This is how I push back, and we go back to the Kanye. You said, "Damn," so I said, "Damn, y'all a lot alike," and I was talking more about the work ethic, the genius in that, and also how y'all disruptors. Okay, there's a bunch of people like that. Steve Jobs was like that, right? But the challenge that you face is if you're in the construct of
Right.
the NFL
Right.
or corporate America, you can disrupt,
Right.
but you got to understand what's coming with that, right?
This is why I felt like this particular interview is so needed. Because we're getting to the point where it's a conversation that is relevant to people as a whole. In this particular case, African Americans or melanated individuals of color. But it's beyond Brandon Marshall, beyond AB, beyond the Swaggy, beyond all of them, right? It is for Black Americans in particular. At what point are we operating so much out of fear that it is having a long-lasting toll on us, regardless of the financial benefit? And is it worth it?
Right.
The problem is with black people, like they're living in fear. No one's disrupting. Y'all missing the purpose. The purpose is you hurt. Coach said, "Get the fuck out of here."
I would have went crazy too.
Of course, what you gonna do?
Like, I would've done some shit
And then
over,
it's a
like,
build up.
that's disrespect.
Then
too.
it's a build up. Then it's a build up. Hold on.
Yep.
It's a build up.
Yep.
As a player, certain shit done went on over the whole course of the year. Things done went on. How they treated
Constant
you done went on.
disrespect.
All this you get building up daily.
Yep.
And now for me to get to the point where I'm hurt and I can't go, and you saying get the fuck out of here.
Share that narrative though. That's the thing, too.
Because that's what I keep telling him. Like,
In that situation, was the bonus going through your head?
listen, man, I got enough money. If I need money, I go play hurt. I would tell him I can't play. It's bigger than the money, bro. I'm trying to win another chip. I'm trying to do something special. Like, you see what I'm saying?
If you're trying to win another chip, what if they go win a chip right now?
I mean, that's great. I did what was best for me. Like I just told you before in the conversation. Where I'm from, we might blow it a little different. We all got different ways of how we look at life.
Yeah.
B. Marshall, he probably wouldn't have took his shirt off. However you would have did this situation, how the coach did. I did what I did because that's what my heart needed me to do. That's how I felt. It ain't nothing to explain to no one. Like,
Okay,
what
let's
you
do
would have
this.
did probably was different. Yo, this what I did. Everyone can't do what I did.
Okay, but this is what I was going where I was going at, where I was trying
Talk
to get
to
to when I talk about Kanye and all that. Sometimes I
Yeah.
take too long to get.
But
there.
Ye ain't got
ain't got
nothing
nothing to
to
do
do
with
being
this.
a journalist.
Ye got his own
But the
problem.
concept of
AB here with
disruptive
y'all,
is
man.
made.
But time out. No.
Talk to me.
This is the special thing about the locker room because you said on Pitt from the Palace, he inspired you, he called you, boom. This is what you about to go through, and then you
Yes,
said
yes.
you got another homeboy, boom, accountability, right? So for me, I've been through it. That's why I try to say, look, I've been in that seat where I'm in front of America, where there's 4 million people watch. I'm trying to give $1 million check, but then they turn the situation here. So I understand.
Nah, but
it.
it's stadium,
but
bro.
hold on,
I'm
He
on
cannot
all kinda-
listen
I
to
know,
save
but
his
this is what
life.
I'm
You take the game, you get a shot. What you on?
Yes,
What you
I
on?
got the tore
Look,
off shot.
So what else
let's
you
go
on?
veer off into a whole
What
other
else you want?
conversation.
You want
Look,
to-
I played.
No, I'm
What
not
does
saying
it
what you
matter?
play. I'm saying what you own. We all done played.
Brandon Marshall is
What you
solidified.
own?
So what does it matter?
What you on?
Make him answer.
Yeah.
Make him
What
answer.
does
What
it
you
matter?
on?
Yeah.
What you on when you was at the game?
What you mean what I was on?
Yeah, what you
Unimportant.
took? What's your shake? What they shot you?
Oh yeah, so this is my pregame.
Let me hear what you was
warm-up.
on.
So come to boom.
Not what
Let
you
me tell
do,
I
what
did.
you
Hold on,
was
let me tell
on.
what
You
I
know
did.
what I said?
I wanted to have the
See,
best warm up in the world.
Not
See.
Let me
warm up.
tell you,
What
I'm
you
telling you,
on?
I'm telling you.
Completely-
I'm about to answer.
He beating around
Don't
the
say
bush.
it, don't say it,
Answer.
don't
What
say
you
it.
was on?
this is why you're uncoachable. You're uncoachable, and it's a problem. You done took the conversation, and as far as I can tell, I don't have a background as an athlete. But what I will say, as far as I can tell, you have completely shifted the conversation from where it needs to be right now, is to going back to what your actions in the moment lead towards when it comes to your full analyses of whether or not your activity or your actions are worth whatever it is that you're doing in the moment, or worth whatever you feel like doing, whatever your heart is telling you to do, right? Which is different for everyone. Everyone's different cutoff is different. That has to be a stipulation that's understood, right? But this is weird to me because it starts to get to a point of, to a certain degree, challenging Brandon's viewpoint when you really can't. I mean, you can disagree, but I mean, when I say challenging his viewpoint, meaning challenging his credentials to have his viewpoint. Put it like that. Not his viewpoint, but his credentials, right? And you really can't. I don't think so. Like, in terms of, I think Brandon is solidified when it comes to football, whatever records he holds, accolades. I think he's pretty much certified. He's certified in the game. He's certified in terms of him being able to give his opinions. Whether or not you believe his, you go with his take or what have you. But he's certified to where, running down, what did you take? What kind of, how did you play? And what were you on? And all that kind of stuff. Irrelevant because he's certified and solidified enough to have this conversation and to give you advice. But yet again, you're uncoachable. You're not a student. You only study yourself, which will lead you to live and die by your own viewpoints, which to this point has worked for you. I'm not even going, it's worked for you thus far, but it's kind of like at a certain point, just thinking about it like sports, you running this same play over and over. I'm not sure how many times you're going to get through just by even being great. You running the same play, just doing things the way you want to do it, only having yourself in mind. I don't know how effective that's going to be too much longer. And the other thing I want to say about this, and then I, started back up, is that this is one of the reasons that when I sent Brandon Marshall a communication through Instagram saying that I think this would be great for just an individual interview, like a 2-part individual interview with just you, because Antonio Brown is a showman. He is a show pony. He will dance around, trot, or whatever. He is going to make a show. Whatever there's been some real points of conversation, but he's going to have a show. And having other people there to bounce off of, like a Swaggy P and different people around, other than just focusing on the conversation, allows him to do all that, deflect and move around and not deal with what we're talking about. And try to get the yes and amens outside of the conversation that we need to have. So that's one of the reasons I thought it might be better as a closed door situation. But there's aspects of it that, are better with having a panel type of interview. So I don't know. It's more like whatever you prefer. But this type of thing I think would have been great, or at least a certain portion of this conversation would have been great one-on-one, to avoid some of this foolishness. But anyway.
All right, what you was on when you played?
Answer the question.
He's saying this warm up. What you on?
I'm about to tell you.
I'm saying about how mad you is in the game, like.
Bro, I'm with you. That's what I'm saying to you.
I know you with me. We kumbaya. I'm trying to, relax.
Let me come back down.
No, we learning.
No, all I'm saying.
I'm asking what you on, gang. What you was on?
I don't even know.
Right.
Over my head.
What are you asking?
What you was on when you played?
Right. Now you open. Now you running the interview. You the host.
You the host.
Right. Exactly.
I'm trying to tap in. I'm saying, fam, what you on? Like, what they shoot you up with? Like, what that make you feel like? How you feel like when you hurt? When you hurt during the game, you feel good? Are you a little pissed off?
A little pissed off.
Of course, when you're not in the game, things ain't going your way. You ain't a little pissed off?
Very much so.
If Swaggy, they ain't passing you the ball.
All right, hold on.
Big hot.
Now, this is the part where you start getting to the clips of things where I would have to cut in somebody like a Shannon Sharp. When she starts saying, get your lie together. What is it? Is it that you're not getting the ball passed to you and you were upset? Or is it that they were trying to make you play when you felt like you couldn't go? Let's get the lie straight, like, or the truth straight, whatever, like, however you want to say it. That's just the saying, right? Get your lie straight, which is that comment you just made about, what you was on. How would you feel if, you were hurt and they was shooting you up with stuff and they wasn't passing you the ball? Like, which part of it, what part are you upset at? Because according to you couldn't go and you wasn't going back in. Now, if they said they was gonna throw every single play for you, throwing to you, that all of a sudden you be well enough to go in. I mean, what aspect of this was the real trigger? Because now it lends me to believe that you did say something to the effect to the coach of, "Oh, y'all ain't gonna," or not to the either to the coach or to Brady, whoever, that "Oh, y'all ain't throwing it, y'all ain't gonna throw it to me or whatever, so I ain't going in," type of thing. More like a childish response to something, as opposed to, "I'm legitimately hurt, as I texted you guys about earlier in the day and yesterday. I can't really go. I'm out, guys," or whatever. It seems like tempers flared when you flip the switch on people and was like, "Y'all not throwing me the ball no way, so I'm out." Right? So it's like, okay, can you play or not? Because if you can play, you need to be out there. If we say you need to go. If you can't play, then you need to be out of the game. Neither one of those should really be impacted by whether or not they throwing to you. If you can't go, then you can't go. If you can, you can. So it sounds like that did play a factor. And it sounds like you got a response partially based upon that statement, or that whoever you made that statement to, or however you let them know that was part of the impact of why you were not wanting to go in. And I think that the response that you got back was to the level it was based upon that coming across. Now whether or not, now at what point that came across, I don't know if that came across to the coach or just came across to Brady or who it came across to, but sounds like that was a factor in there somewhere. Don't make it right what the coach did, because I think what the coach did was wrong either way. Like, you even if you were upset, like, you don't, how you cutting the player on the field, like, it's kind of like you're gonna have to answer for that. But you know what I'm saying? But sounds like some of your actions played into this in a way that you're not really willing to accept and take responsibility for. And that's an underlying theme that I'm seeing with Antonio Brown, about lack of accountability for the part you play in a lot of the situations that you find yourself in. Even though there are other bad actors, that I completely believe that there are other bad actors, never taking accountability for the part that you play leads you to very similar in conclusion and results in very different settings over and over and over again, right? So that statement brings that out for me, honestly.
All right. but that's why I said I can relate to you, and this is where I was trying to go. And I said, I'm learning to be Oprah. Okay, I understand exactly what you're saying and how you feel, because I feel the same way. But here's the reality is this, bro, is like, in that moment, because what I would have done in that moment.
Yeah, but everyone react different.
I know everybody react different.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to explain the way I react.
I know. That's what I'm saying to you. I can understand.
Just listen.
Like, that wouldn't have resonated when I saw you, your first interview that you did, and you said that. I said, "Oh, yeah, I would have been hot too." But the young B. Marshall, first 5 years, no telling what would have happened.
Yeah.
Post McLean Hospital, B. Marshall, I would have waited until I got in a locker room, because here's why, AB. And this is where it goes back to the disruptor, when I was trying to say with Kanye West. Post McLean Hospital, B. Marshall, I understood that there was 4 cameras on me at all times.
Context,
Jay Cutler throw a pick,
environment.
The camera panned to me. They told me this. I was just in a cool meeting with ESPN. They told me, like, we got a camera on you all the time because you give us the best reactions. And so I knew there was going to be 4 cameras watching me, 70,000 cheering live, 4 million tuned in. I'm about to give you that? No, I ain't about to do that, because now what you talking about, now they control the narrative.
I don't know how
now
they
control. Hold on, stay with me. They control the narrative.
You can't control it.
No. Yes, you can. Yeah, you have to.
Fake it right now.
So again, now these two people who maybe don't understand this lesson, now they can kind of commiserate over in the corner, talking about, I don't know how you thought was thinking about all of that. Because when you understand context, certain things are not hard to think, hard to be at the forefront of your mind. When you, like, for instance, put it like this, like the way you respond to something, like, let's say I'm not a parent, but let's say someone is a parent, right? The way you respond to something crazy when you by yourself versus when your children are present, especially younger children that are impressionable, should be different. And it shouldn't take a whole lot of thought in trying, you know what I mean? Like in terms of, okay, my children are present. You know, the way you respond to somebody acting foolish or whatever like that, when you're thinking about the safety of your children first before whatever your ego and all of that kind of stuff, you know, certain situations will necessitate the same activity. But there are a lot of different times where because of that, because of the context, because of the environment, because of the parties involved, you choose to respond differently. Because why? You have context, you have understanding, you have perspective, right? And more so than content, you have perspective, right? Understanding everything that's happening and what the consequences of your actions are. You fall short of that sometimes from time to time, but then it's incumbent upon you to be accountable for falling short of what you knew you should have done. But it shouldn't take a whole lot of thought to understand that in this moment, I need to move differently. And that's based upon what you believe the cost and benefit to be, right? The cost of your child seeing the wrong thing or the wrong type of response to something versus the benefit of you feeling good about just doing whatever you felt like doing, right? Same thing in terms of a work environment. Now, again, where somebody ever draws that line to the point where certain context and certain perspective does not matter, then that's that individual's line. But to act like you don't understand, how you could do it's because you're an adult. And that's how you can understand. Like you're an adult and understand consequences. And you understand the cost that something can come with, and you make that determination, right? But to act like you don't understand how that was part of his thought process is juvenile to me.
Yes, you do. Fake right now.
Because guess what?
You don't think
NFL
about all
guys.
that. It's 4 cameras on me all the time. I gotta be professional.
NFL
business. It's a 16
Called being an adult.
industry. That's why.
Y'all mad in the club.
You're on
mad.
camera all the time when you're at work.
Shit,
in
y'all
the
mad
athletic
with
world.
I'm not thinking
You're
that
not
straight
listening
right
to me.
there.
Can you listen to me? Let me tell you why you need
So
to
what
be
you
in
saying? What I
control.
did was wrong. What you saying?
I'm not saying what
So
you
what
did.
you saying?
What
What's
I'm
your
saying
point of
is
it? An
Just
NFL
listen.
Super Bowl team coach
listen.
told a guy on the
You
team
still
who
talking.
playing hurt, get the out of here.
So
and
what?
You telling me you, Brandon Marshall, would have told him, I would have got close to him and started talking to him.
No, let me tell you. You want me to
That does sound
You want me
funny.
to do it?
It does sound funny, I ain't
Let me
gonna
show you
lie.
what I would have did.
No,
Let me show you what I would have did.
That was
Listen,
funny.
Jared, let me tell you what I would have did. Because everybody knew me.
When we get in this
Everybody
locker
knew me.
room,
But
I will whoop
my
your
point in all
ass.
this, AB, my point in all this is saying this, Swaggy, is this.
But take the
my
point.
objective, I want to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Context.
My objective
Perspective.
is I'm finishing my career with 1,000 receptions.
Right.
There's
The
only
goal.
there's
The
2
goal.
dudes that did what I did. He's one, and I don't know the other dude.
You're right.
You know what I'm talking
listen,
about. Hold
but
on,
at what
stay
point
with me.
does it come?
No,
listen,
hold on, time out.
I'm with you.
Time
Just
out.
listen.
We kumbaya.
Shut up.
Listen.
We kumbaya.
I'm gonna listen.
Shut
I don't
up
like
and
where you
listen.
going.
You don't like where I'm going.
I don't like where
So
you going.
what?
But I'm gonna listen.
Just
I'm gonna
listen.
I'm gonna listen.
So here go my thing.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get that. I know what I want. And I also know I want another bag. I'm trying to get another 40 million. So what I'm gonna do, because if I give him that, if I take off unstrap my boom, do that peace sign in MetLife, now they in control.
Yes.
I lose. Because now it's me versus
I love that you said
the
that.
media.
I love that.
Right.
Now, here's the deal. This is what I would have did, because you
like
asked
that.
me what I would have did. I would have went to Bruce. Do what Bruce did.
Nah, but we can't do we ain't in the football
Okay, this is
field.
what Bruce did. He said, get the out of here, and he did that. If I'm close to coach my ankle, this is what up, I just text you. You seen that? The world seen that? I'd have been like, what the is wrong with you? You talking to
Right.
me like that? You gotta see
Right,
me in the locker
right.
room.
Hey,
I promise you.
No,
and this
listen.
is the
If you
corporate
still
man-
wanna play.
This is
I
the
love
corporate,
that.
This the corporate B. Marshall.
I love that.
Because now I'm here with you. And they can't
Right.
read my lips because you disrespected me. And
If you
know
still wanna
I'm an
play.
alpha male, I'm a dog,
let
and
me
you
tell
can't
you.
talk
Hold
to
on,
me.
but you-
Hold on.
You think you would have been that collected?
now see all three of them now.
What do
See
you
that?
think? What do you think? What do you think
That's
I did
perfect.
my
Listen.
second half of my career?
That's the mental health coming in right there.
Okay, let's
That's
talk
the
about
mental
it.
health, right?
Go.
Let's talk about
B.
it.
Marshall just said he would have did what he had to do
Right.
so he could get that what he had to get.
Right.
So you telling me you're compromising
You
your
control.
integrity?
I told you he control.
Yeah, he control. You a
I told. That's why I
footballer.
said I feel like y'all
But
took
hold on,
control.
time out. But that's why I said.
Fair point.
But what-
The point of it is that, and this is the part that applies without respect to any particular field, any particular profession, any particular lane that you may be in that you would consider yourself a professional within. There are always sacrifices that we make, especially when you're not an entrepreneur. If you are operating within someone else's system, there are certain things, and it sounds crazy to say, excuse me, but there are certain things, certain ways that you would have to move, certain ways that you operate when you're operating in someone else's system within an ecosystem that you did not design, right? Even as an entrepreneur, there are certain things because your boss is your market, right? So if your market says, hey, just look at the stock market, people who own companies or whatever, if there's a publicly traded company, you're like whoever it is that is providing that income, whether it be a lot of people or just one person or a small collective, you're beholden to that to a certain extent. And again, it's incumbent upon each and every individual to draw the line wherever you would draw it, but to act like that this is somehow unique, that that you have to exhibit a certain amount of control on yourself in certain environments. This is not foreign. So especially not for some athletes. Don't play because professional sports has been likened to some other things historically that is no longer legal. So let's just listen. It's a lot of control going on over there. All right. So, but I think the point, it's important to give voice to that point that, hey, when you decide that you've drawn a line wherever that is, and this is a do not pass go, do not collect $200, go to jail type of thing. Everybody draws the line where they draw it, right? This is the question. Was that the line for you? And if that was the line for you, does that mean that you're okay with not achieving the goals that you set for yourself because of this line? And that's okay. For every single person, that's okay. Right? Where you say, this is my line, I'm cutting it here, it's not worth it. But what they're talking about in essence, where I think the confusion is that they're drawing lines at different places. Brandon Marshall is saying, that's not it yet. That's a line where I'm gonna get you right. I'm gonna respond to you. We're gonna go at it. But this is not my drawing a line of complete loss of professionalism, complete loss of understanding the context of the situation of the ecosystem I'm operating within and the power structure that I have to play around, right? So he's saying, this is how I respond when my ultimate goal still remains my ultimate goal and I'm not willing to cut it yet. What Swaggy and Antonio are talking about, or AB are talking about, is no, that was my line to where none of the rest of what you're talking about, goals, numbers, money, none of that other stuff matters. Neither one of those are wrong. But you have to understand what you're talking about. Like, you're talking about the line and where you draw it. And Brandon did a good job of setting it up beforehand. He said the Brandon, 5 years in or whatever, the younger Brandon versus the Brandon of today who understands corporate etiquette and corporations and how you have to move in order to continue on an upwardly mobile path is different. So that's the difference here. To the point, I think that it's not teased out enough at this particular point. It's kind of hard to do so when you're talking amongst 4 different people, but that needs to be teased out a bit on this. Now getting to the point of what that sacrifice looks like and what the consequences can be of having, prolonged this type of prolonged strain on your mental health by having to operate in what we all know to be a toxic environment and toxic system for a lot of athletes, especially Black athletes. That's a different conversation, which I think they're going to get into at some point.
What did I say from the beginning?
You said we was disruptive. You said I was disruptive.
Which is it can be a good thing.
No, listen, being disruptive is not being disruptive. something up when something going right.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Having
disruptive.
integrity.
Steve Jobs was disruptive. Jeff Bezos is disruptive.
Because his business was so good.
Elon Musk,
his business
Kanye
was
West.
so good. Their business so good.
And your business
Not
is
because
booming.
they was disruptive. It's because they were standing on good principles and delivering high work. The problem is what he said with mental health. Football players will always have mental health problems because what you said.
I'm with you.
He just said, I love the way you said you would have handled it. But at the end of the day, when it become, like he said, it become a time where you like,
okay,
you got to stand on principle and integrity. Like, yo, you can't.
This is so good.
Do
This
me
is so
any
good. Stay with me right here. This is
draw,
what I'm saying to you.
So
you draw
if
your
football
own
players'
line.
mental health
Facts.
going to sustain for when they after their career. When you just said they willing to be treated the wrong way to get what they got to get, the Hall of Fame, them bad.
That's why I said the disruptive, because like
That's
this.
not disruptive.
Some people respond. And
Can you
some
look
people
at the
react.
definition of disruptive?
Yeah,
Because we
let's do
kumbaya
that.
and it's
again. All right, we're gonna kumbaya, and then while she looking.
What's the
All right,
definition?
Now hold up, stop, no, wait a minute. Now I know we have not sat here and watched this video halfway through and have not pressed the like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever the hell else button is lighting up down at the bottom of that screen. Don't you know they do studies to see how to make the buttons to the point where you would like to press them the most. So go on down there and press them, and that's what you do when you come to somebody's house. You bring a gift, don't you? Well, I appreciate you. Go on and do that, and we'll be right back after these regularly scheduled messages and whatever the hell else I gotta do before this video come back. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.
Look at my own definition of disruptive, because I mean, in a manner that it's being used, I'm thinking about disruptive from a business sense, and I think that's kind of what Brandon Marshall is trying to get at, because of bringing up other names that would be notably involved in that, like a Steve Jobs and an Elon Musk and that sort of thing. Disruptive is rather violent. Being disruptive is rather violent, but in a different way. Meaning, to me, a disruptor in business is one that significantly changes the ecosystem, significantly changes the market, if you will, to almost like either expand it or make aspects of it obsolete to me. Like if you take, for instance, like an Uber, right? You know, ride hailing and that sort of thing with the whole taxi cab thing, and how that works to flagging down a taxi cab or having limited other options unless there's significant public transport. Having something like an Uber come along and you can use an app on your phone to have someone who's using their own vehicle to pick you up and drop you off, as opposed to being limited to a certain number of medallion holders in a place like a New York or something like that. Being able to, have these people stationed all around, have a much larger pool to choose from, have a rating system that allows for a certain level of experience and customer service, and also a rating system for the rider as well. A lot of different things that make other aspects either much less, like it changes the market. It changes, the share that someone may get, the market share, or could completely close the doors to certain contributors in a market. So that's disruptive. That's how I think of disruptive. It's a little different when you think about being disruptive in an area of sports. Like I would say, a LeBron to me is somewhat disruptive in sports, kind of going away from the business disruptiveness, because similar to something like or someone like a Muhammad Ali, right? Disruptive in a sense where, standing up for civil rights or, different sort of political ideology, and rights of others, and using your platform to do so that actually can disrupt the goings on of the field that you're within. For instance, coming together with, the players union or whatever, and deciding that you're not going to play, and that, the powers that be, the sports teams and all that stuff, lose a certain amount of money because there's not going to be no viewership. There's not going to be any ads played or whatever, like, because there's no game that evening, or a sit-in to say, okay, we're not playing until such and such changes, right? My goodness, in the NFL, the Colin Kaepernick of things, right? Disruptive in a sense where you are changing the conversation, putting pressure on the powers that be to make changes, having presidents and vice presidents speak about you, whether good or bad. Really violently taking control of a narrative and drawing attention to certain things or changing the ecosystem in some way. So that's kind of how I see, that's kind of how Brandon Marshall might even lump in someone like Ocho Cinco, less in a political way, but more so in just shifting the way that, or what's allowed in terms of showmanship in games now versus then, and that sort of thing, right? So all of that, I think this basis of what it means to be a disruptor probably should be nailed down a little bit better to have that conversation. But I'm not sure I understand Antonio Brown being a disruptor in a sense of changing the ecosystem. He's just disruptive. But I don't know I almost think of being a disruptor and like in the business sense as there being some sort of positive benefit to the market. I'm not sure, unless this opens up to a larger conversation about mental health and how players should be treated and that sort of thing. I'm not seeing the positive ecosystem market benefit of Antonio Brown's antics other than serving himself. I'm not really sure how I see, and I'll probably drop in somewhere and have play something that, kind of shows some of the things that he's dealt with in the media and the public, in terms of his persona and how he's been portrayed because of things he's been involved in the media, and drop that in somewhere in here. But I liken disruptive being violent, but positive somehow for the marketplace. And I'm not saying the positive for the marketplace from Antonio Brown because he's extremely selfish. And I don't see this being the only way that comes about is honestly if this conversation as to protecting the mental health of the players, of people that he would identify with as athletes, protecting their mental health and allowing them to fare much more positively in an environment that is toxic to them as human beings. So in that way, potentially, but I don't see it yet.
She gonna do it, so I can read it out.
Say it again.
Disruption.
Hold on, say it again.
Disruptive.
Causing disruption.
He can't even.
Causing or tending to.
I got it.
You talking where I can't even hear what
He disruptive.
I was trying to tell
but
you.
I don't see the benefit.
See, that's how the OGs.
second
When the
line?
OGs get enlightened by the young youth, they get uncomfortable.
All right, so
That's
what's
why
the
we
second
gotta make
line?
this
There's another line.
uncomfortable.
Second line.
Okay, there's another line.
Go.
Disruptive. Innovative or groundbreaking.
So that's being able to.
Okay, can you stay with me now?
I'm
I'm
listening.
actually with you. You're not even.
I had you change your seat right now. The OG.
First 5 years.
Time you take shit the hell up. Making a got a good
What
point.
the first
Respecting that.
5 year Marshall would have did?
But you asking him what the first 5 year would do, but that's not the advice you need from an OG. Now hold on. The advice from an OG is not for them to tell you what they would have done in their first 5 years. It's to give you the benefit of the experience and knowledge that they have today, or at the moment of giving you their advice. Not, oh, you telling me no. Tell me what you would have did your first 5 years. Yeah, I think he's already established that. He actually started his commentary, or at some point earlier, way earlier on in his commentary, saying that my first 5 years, I would have did it this way, but now having the knowledge that I do, I would have done it this way. That's the benefit of having people who have experience to talk to you. So why are y'all continuously harping on this whole thing? What you're trying to do is validate his behavior and say that you would have done it too. Basically, all of them are trying to, everybody other than Brandon Marshall is trying to validate this behavior to a certain extent. And it's not, and I think to Antonio Brown's point, it's really not to validate the actual action, because like, again, they're going around in circles. It's Everybody has their threshold, their line. You decide where that is. And when you say, I'm sick of this bull, you cut. And however you cut, you could just walk out, scream out, yell out, hit somebody on your way out, whatever. It depends on who you are, when you draw that line, what you do. The question is that the line? Have you determined at that point that none of this is worth it and I'm through? That's the question. That's what we need an answer to. Right? Regardless of how we would have each differently gone about, once we draw our line, gone about cutting ties. That's the whole thing. So, like, you going in circles about something that's irrelevant.
Passing the ball. Hey, look, Jay Cutler ain't passing the ball.
You silly. I love you, boy. Hey, listen, this is where I'm saying you're disruptive. If you say you stand on principles, and this is who you are, I'm rocking. Hold on. This is what I'm saying. If you're trying to push it forward to if the conversation is, we got to start respecting our athletes.
That is
when he said that, you looked at him and said, Coach, you just disrespected me. Go in the locker room, because this is what I would have did if Bruce Arians put me in this situation and I felt the way he felt, I'd have went in the locker room and did my press conference. 2 million people watching. I would have said, listen, I'm no longer playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because what I stand on, there's no way I can walk into that locker room when this coach just talked to me the way he talked to me.
That could be disruptive.
I don't respect that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now you're putting it back on them.
But I think that's what's happening.
But that's the mental health thing. You gonna put somebody else to stand on your mind, or you gonna take care of your mind for yourself? Or you ain't gonna listen to your heart and you gonna do what somebody else told you. At the end of the day, my boy, I gotta look myself in the mirror. When nobody ain't there, and I gotta be good with myself. The problem with people is they worried about how someone reacts. You worried about how this look, how he did. Listen, you do what your heart tell you to do. If you don't do what your heart tell you to do, at the end of the day, you're gonna have some drama in your mind because you felt outside of yourself. And that's what happened. People want to tell people how to react, man. Listen, no one control no one reaction. We all from different forms of life.
We've been here already.
Up different ways. How you splurge, me and Swaggy P ain't gonna splurge how
Wholly
you splurge.
irrelevant.
No,
you see what I'm saying?
Right.
But you know what I'm saying?
But this is what I'm saying.
But everyone got their own creative to do themselves. The thing what he just said that made true is B. Marshall willing to do anything to achieve his goal, which is greatness. But at the same time, what's your integrity in regards of what you want to do to get there?
There's two things there, right? Because what you talked about is the way that you would have went about it, right?
Yeah.
And you would have went to the press conference.
Yeah.
This is the press conference. This is
to
the
a
new
certain
format
extent
that you are. But he is standing on principle the way that you would stand on your principle. What I'm saying is that I think what he's doing right now makes traditional forms of media and like ESPN
to a certain extent
irrelevant.
That's
okay.
I agree.
He's hosting his own press conference right now and all the other interactions that he's
I
had.
agree.
Let's
Jared,
get to the
but
question.
This is the question.
He know game.
Yeah, but here's the question.
He's starting to smell the aroma.
Pause.
But what I'm saying,
hold on. All that's true. All that's true is this. If you could answer this.
Listen, football players are irrational. They want to be AB because they can't stand on nothing. What they stand on?
I know.
They stand on wannabes. Oh, this guy stand on want to be the best. He want to be great. He want. How? It all ended these guys going down. How you ended your career?
Right.
How did your career end? How did it end? I want to hear.
I got cut.
How did it end?
I got cut. So
okay.
You gonna let me answer?
See how the OGs feel emotional when
it ain't emotional. If you ask a question, shut up and get an answer.
Can I answer the question?
Pass the
no,
torch.
You ain't answering it correct.
You said
you ain't answering it correct. Right.
Can I holler at you right now?
Go ahead.
All right.
It is.
Everyone in the world got different form of reactions of what happened to them.
Bro, I feel like y'all have the same conversation 12 times.
How you feel, and no one only gonna know that regards of who you is.
And this is
the thing with football players, mental health and CTE is this. These guys are willing to do whatever it takes to make some obligated gain. But they're in the midst of those gains, along that journey, they're being mistreated. It's a lot of stuff that went on that may not have been handled right. And then you starting your career on the high. It's like a roller coaster. You go up, and then as soon as it's about to go down, everyone leave. So now, let me ask you some questions because we kumbaya, but sometimes you gotta listen. Like we got two.
I'd love for you to take your own advice. All right, so continue.
If we all players and we all saying we care about mental health, why every time something happen bad or how someone react, oh he's crazy, there's something wrong with his mental health?
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with my mental health. Someone told me get the fuck out of here. I'm not passive aggressive. B. Marshall said he was gonna be passive aggressive. Listen to a guy, tell him get the F out of here. When the guy already said he never wanted you, whatever. But it's bigger than me.
I know it's bigger than you.
Because a lot of guys going through
What I'm
this.
saying to you is
How do you protect your mental health as a football player in regards to getting what you want? How do you do that?
AB, all of that is good.
I'm asking you one question.
What?
We both asked each other one question. How do I maintain my mental health as a football player and still keep my integrity to get what I want? But basketball player like, yo, Swaggy, pass me that. You my boy. Me and you playing NBA before the game. You know, passing the ball, what you mean? I can take the ball. I'm waiting for the quarterback to throw me the ball. I'm an alpha male, man. Listen, you ain't finna talk to me any kind of way.
Draw
you
your
ain't finna
line.
play with me. That's like he just said, you felt like they tried you when they asking you about
Draw your line.
mental health when you they're giving it. You ain't feel like they disrespect you?
100%. But guess what?
Swaggy's so stupid, bro.
Security 911.
If I would have reacted, there's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional. Like we don't think,
just go.
We just react, right? Boom, and whatever can happen.
Yeah.
Responding is actually thought through. Because you know what I see when I see AB? Bro, there's a couple dudes I've been around, I'm like, yo, they work ethic is way more crazier than me. And that's saying something. And I'm not trying to big myself up right now, but I know I went hard, bro.
You did.
I know I left everything out.
You did.
Hold on 1 second. One second. The Odell Beckham Jr., I had an opportunity to play with him. Bro, Odell worked crazy hard. You, bro, like when you talk about, I don't care about all your stats. I care about your process. It's legendary process.
Listen, bro, we all alpha males. We competing. We competing. Listen, NFL guys compete. We competing. They want to be the best. Ain't no.
Let me tell you what I see.
They know what we doing.
AB, let me tell you what I see.
I'm listening.
I see somebody that went out there with a mindset similar to mine, but probably better. And I'm like, yo, this dude right here could potentially go down as the best wide receiver ever. And I know you wanted that. I know you believed that. And so for me, I say that because, yes, now you're talking about integrity and how they treat us. And it's like, okay, how do we navigate through this NFL or just this life where people say things, but like, yeah, I got this goal. I'm trying to lead the game this way. So my question to you is, and basically you're already showing us, basically what I hear you telling me tonight is this. I know what I want and what I'm capable of doing. Being the best wide receiver ever to grace this green grass. But if you disrespect me, I'll walk away from
That's
it.
my line.
I wasn't willing to walk away from that. I was willing
That's
to play
the question.
game.
Was that your line?
Get what I needed out of the NFL so I could
And that's the mental health. But that's the mental health. You willing to play a game. I'm playing life. This for real, it ain't no game. The game on the weekend.
Right.
And life.
You're missing the point. You're missing the point. It's not of, are you willing to play a game and this and that and with the third. All of y'all playing a game because all of you all are operating in a construct that you did not set up. It is not always designed for your well-being. So you're having the conversation about where your line is. B. Marshall's line is someplace different than AB's line is what it's sounding like. And B. Marshall's question is, was that your line? In that case, then, I know what I want to do. I know what stats I want to hit. I know I want to be the best at this. I know I want to be the greatest. I know I want to play this many years. I know I want my stats to look like this. I know I want to have this amount of money or whatever. But if this interrupts that process and I come across this during the process, this is my line and I'm done. I'm out. Because it does not, the benefit does not outweigh the expense and cost to me, my well-being, my mental health. That's B. Marshall's question. That is the only question at this point, is outside of individuals drawing their own line as to what they believe is more detrimental and is more costly than doing well financially, is what's that line? What's that line for me? And where do I draw it? And where do I cut ties? And count my losses and my wins, and I'm good. And what B. Marshall is saying, it sounds like to me, from B. Marshall's perspective, sounds like to me you're saying that was my line, I'm done. But I'm not sure that was his line, which is why this is even a conversation, right? For AB. Now, separate from, I mean, these two questions are the larger questions that I wanted to have a conversation about. But for AB in particular, it sounds like that makes it more of a reaction than a response. Because if you're not willing to say that was my line, I'm done, I'm out the game, then stands to reason that what you did, how you responded, was more reactionary than a response and some level of finality. Even if you said, okay, I'm done with this team, I'm gonna go to another team, da 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 da. I'm still not sure that would have been the way you would exit if you were still wanting to be in the league to some extent, with a different team, what have you. Seems more like an afterthought later to say, oh, I want to talk about maybe being on another team or whatever, what have you. So that's the whole thing. And it sounds like that's where at this point now I lean to more of AB being reactionary and not thinking this thing through in terms of responding versus the reacting, because that may have been his line with that team, but that wasn't his line with the NFL. And I've seen clips before with him saying F the NFL, this and that, even before he got on that particular team. So he has a history of reacting as opposed to responding. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm leaning. He reacted and didn't really respond, even though the mental health question is supremely important. AB needs to be accountable for the fact that he doesn't always act in a way that's conducive to his future based upon what he wants. Not based upon what anybody else wants for you, not based upon how anybody else thinks you should have responded. What Brandon is basically doing is getting to the level of, like, if you were a personal consultant, or if you were a client of a consultant of some sort, to say, no, we're talking about you, not about what anybody else wants for you. What do you want for yourself? You want to be in the league? You're not done with the league? Okay. Do you think that the way you responded was the way that somebody who's not done with the league responds? Do you think saying F the NFL and recording it, putting it up different places is the way somebody should respond? Do you think, posting up celebratory posts about your former team, being out of contention for a championship is the way that, another team would view that as, activity that they would want to be a recipient of? Do you think that, having fake examinations for certain hot button ailments that are sweeping around the country, and having fake cards for certain treatments, do you think that type of activity is something that, lends itself positively to different people around you who are expecting you to be, like you said, integrity, right? Because then some of these other things call into question integrity. Not necessarily the choice that you make, but lying about the choices that you make and having other people be around you who believe you to have made one decision and you made another one when it comes to health and other people's health being involved as well. Oh, that's an integrity issue. So let's not be throwing that word around in a vacuum. If you're going to talk about integrity, let's talk about it, right? And so that's where I think AB makes some good points. And I think he raises some really important points, but they don't all apply to you. And when I say apply to you, meaning like they don't all fit perfectly in this situation, because there's a lot of places where your personal behavior doesn't match with the arguments that you're making. I don't think it was necessarily a mental health issue when you complaining about you not getting thrown enough passes or whatever, versus you saying it's because you're injured. If you're injured and can't go into the game, that's one thing, but you making comments about they not throwing me the ball, they not doing this and that. That's not really a mental health problem. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be, but that's I don't see that as a mental health issue. I see that as a spoiled brat issue, right? That may have some deeper roots, but you're spoiled, and to a certain extent, it's to be expected from somebody who has the level of talent you do, but the behavior, not so much. Maybe the mentality, but the behavior, not so much. So I guess we'll continue here, but you need to answer the question of, was that your line? If that was not your line, how can you say then that your response was appropriate?
Ain't no playing no games. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's the mental health part of players. I gotta play this game so I could get what I gotta get. Bro, this real life. You tell me get the fuck out of here, you think I'm gonna just look sad and wait for a flight with you?
That's
So here's my question.
They want you to look sad.
Sway, I know.
That's the mental trick right there.
Okay, but this is why I'm saying all that.
Do what you gotta do to get what you gotta get.
Like, do what you gotta do.
That's not life.
You're right. But here's the thing. Do you want to play? Do you still want to play?
Listen, players do what they play. Players play
Answer
because
the
of their
question.
talent. I don't play because I'm like, yo, you could just do it. You
So
could
will
just
you play
have your
again?
way with me, and I'm
Answer
just
the
trying to
question.
Will you play again?
Huh?
Will you play again?
Yeah, if it's up to me, yeah.
But that's
Okay.
my thing. Like,
Listen, all
That's
I can
the
do is
thing.
control what I can control. I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna get my.
That's right.
But that's
Control,
what I'm saying, 'cause there's a-
control
that's
your
the
stank
other part of
attitude, being
conversations,
part
Swaggy.
of
There's
it.
people
But that's
out
the
there,
mental
Swaggy.
part, Swaggy. People in the NFL players think
But
you have to do what
You
you
have to
gotta
do
do
it.
to get what you
I have
gotta
to
get.
be a
It's
certain
standard.
way, or they ain't gonna want me.
Exactly.
That's a cold
Because
way.
he
So
asked
you're
me-
not being
That's
yourself.
it. You're not being yourself.
It's called being an
That make you
employee.
more crazy.
Exactly, and that's
Okay,
why
well,
guys
don't be
keep
an
saying,
employee.
"You got I got mental wealth." You know why? Because I don't let what people say.
That's how you
affect
let
who I
it
am.
off.
No, I agree.
don't
I agree.
let-
There's
Okay.
two things, but there's two things
I
happening.
don't
here.
let my mind feel like, oh, I had this
How
year
can
when
you
be
go
my
home
Listen, it's
to
about
thinking
me.
No,
At the
there's
end
two
of the
things
day.
happening. It's true. That is what creates a lot of issues in dudes. Is constantly forming themselves to the groups and to the associations that they need to be a part of, like the NFL, right? And so when they're done, and their whole personality is formed in the shape of the NFL.
Yeah,
In a
so
football,
now they lost.
So now they're lost, right?
Okay,
So
now
I
you
totally
smart.
agree. I totally
I can get
agree.
behind that.
But at the same time, I respect Brandon's point in that he
Brandon's in the media right now. He's
It's true,
playing fair
true,
ball.
Exactly.
No, I'm not.
Exactly.
No, I'm
so
not.
there's two
AB,
things.
no, I'm-
He
'cause I'm
told
with
you what he
Listen,
would
I am
do, straight
athlete,
up.
but I know you. Back in the days, bro, your coach tell you get out of here, bro. You leaving.
I told you what I would do, and this is in front of the media. You ain't gonna see no Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless talk the way I'm talking to you and say like, this is what I would have did.
But listen, I don't even
Right.
get mad about people
I know.
talk. Listen, their jobs, they got a
Right.
job
But
based on players. So listen, you was living your life and made your professional career to go and talk about guys like me. And I'm crazy?
Listen, let me.
So this is basically AB discrediting any and everybody else's opinion, right? So like, you ain't the OG, even though you are the OG, and I reference you as an OG. You ain't the OG. You wouldn't have done that. Okay, yeah, I got your opinion that this is what you would do with all the knowledge of an OG today. But if it was your first 5 years, you wouldn't have did that. So it totally negates any of the, even though you are totally credible individual with the credentials to have this conversation, everything you saying is irrelevant. And I don't believe that that's what you would have done. Like, and the people in the media, the only reason that they get money is because they can talk about people like me, and that they get up every day to talk about me. So forget what they're talking about. It's basically like nobody else's opinion has any relevance. Not even that you have to give all of their opinions weight, but it's basically like unless my brain came up with it, it's wrong, or it's irrelevant. And to a certain extent, to be successful, you have to have a certain level about yourself, where no matter what the environment is telling you, you can push forward. But you also need to be introspective enough where you can look outside yourself to see whether or not there's anything that you could change or tailor. It can't be that it was perfect just because you thought of it. I mean, like, that can't always be the answer. I'm just saying that's stupid. Like, I mean, it's in certain ways, yes, but in other ways, I mean, you could glean some knowledge from somewhere else, especially people who have gone before you doing what you're on the path to do. Whether it be the same level or not, I mean, but in the same environment, the same arena, at the highest level of things, like, you know, and these other folks involved in this interview are not always helping this, because I don't know, Swaggy I don't know what's going on. It don't sound too. Swaggy just here. he halfway sick. I don't know. He breathing into that cloth. I don't know. But you know, hey, whatever. I mean, he's entitled to his viewpoint and opinion, of course, and it's credible. It's just I don't agree. So I feel like he's feeding into some BS here, just honestly. But anyway, we'll continue.
Let me hit it this way. I believe that professional sports, whether it's the NBA locker room, Swaggy, or the NFL locker room, or the business around it, is the most toxic environment you can be in. Because every day you walk in that locker room, you're talking about you're in a $16 billion business, and you got multi-million-dollar athletes, and every day you got to be up here. There's no industry, there's no business in the world where you got to be up there. So when you talk about mental health, that is a real thing. So that's why a lot of us, and they say these numbers, I don't know where these numbers come from, but they say 80% of us are in ruins when we retire because of all of the pressure that we got to deal with.
That's a crazy number.
How do you deal with a coach to tell you your ass is cut? Get the hell out of here. How do you deal with that? I'm with you, but what I'm saying is, in life, there's also situations where it's, you know,
I don't know at what point the glasses came back on, but
and I gotta play the game because I can get this, or I can go here, whatever. So I'm with whoever.
So you saying that situation would stop him from making the Hall of Fame, or did that 1 year? You think that 1 year was gonna like help?
Yes, I think that because of
I'm saying, what the Hall of Fame gonna do when you get 50 years old? What they gonna just give you a jacket? Like I got plenty of jackets. What is gonna do?
He gonna make it no matter
you
what.
sound just like Ocho.
Yeah.
No, listen, like what? You looking for verification for someone?
Make it though. You did too much.
Yeah, you did too much. You did what I did though. Like and the principles of the game. It's about what you do in the game.
That's right.
All the other distractions is made
up.
What
you did in the game was do jumping jacks and run out
the level I'm at. They gonna
field.
drop their 2 cents on it.
Yeah. So for me, Swaggy, it was.
How did you get to that point where you was just done with football?
That's a good question.
How did you get to that point where you was just like, you know,
where your mental health was at?
Because I realized that the conversations I wanted to have that I wasn't having in the locker room. I was spending more time thinking about other things outside of football. And once I felt that, and once I was like, I'm not being honest with myself. Once I heard myself in interviews and I was saying things I didn't believe.
You quit then. You quit.
Yeah, I was like, you know what?
So
I think
he
I'm
quit.
done.
I ain't quit.
Yeah.
I just said, f him.
I think I'm done.
He quit.
No,
I'm just asking what he said. He just said.
No, but that's
he quit.
In his mind, he wasn't there. He quit. That's what I'm saying. That's what he said. His mind wasn't there, so he gave it up. My mind was there. I was hurt. I couldn't work. Coach said, "Get the f out of here." I'm like, "Fucking call up the jet. I'm out of here. Out of here. What are you talking about?"
When I got to Jacksonville, I was living on the beach, right? And you know, all of a sudden, I'm living right on the water. Every day I'm going home, living on the water, smoking a J, right? And then it's just like, okay. Like I'm sitting here watching
the waves.
You
was one of those guys.
And I'm watching the waves come in, and I'm like,
he was vibing.
Yeah, he was vibing.
I'm like, man, there's too much life out here for me to be, you know, disagreeing with everybody all the time, right? And so I was trying to talk to the GM at the time, right? And I was trying to find another way to contribute to the team, but I saw the way the GM responded to me, right? He was talking to me like a child, right? And I'm like, wait a second,
right?
But I'm not a kid,
right?
Exactly.
And I see what you see. Right? And I'm not trying to take your job, and I'm not trying to have another position.
You working with him.
I'm trying to talk
I'm
to
on
you.
your squad.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
I'm trying to talk to you.
Not against you.
So when I saw that wasn't even allowed, that my progression
that was his line.
was
So
limited,
that
was
fed you.
limited
That
within
was
the game.
his line.
That's
Fed
where I
you.
was like, okay, I can fight this and fight this and fight this for a couple more mil, or I can walk away with what I have.
Yeah, so at that point, it's like, yo, it's not even
He
worth
drew
it.
his
You know,
line,
your equipment,
straight up.
your logo, I'm gone. Don't even worry about the flight. It's just principles in life. Ain't nobody you working for, you giving your all, you willing to sacrifice your health. So that's showing you I'm all in, bro. I'm a team guy.
Yeah.
I'm willing to get shot up, do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to give my cause to be a part of the team. Because as a
But
player,
you lost. Hold on 1 second, Jay. So let me ask you this to end this conversation. You can jump in and take it wherever you want to go. You know what I'm saying? But like in retrospect, what would you have done differently?
I mean, I got to do what my heart
That's
says.
the question. That's another question.
You know, you can't, you know, that's what's wrong with people. You know, they do stuff and they try to act like their apology, people telling you to apologize. No, it's no apology. I stand on what I did, you know. Obviously, from the football player perspective, because that's how football players think.
Institutionalized.
Exactly. What do I got to do so I could get to where I got to get? I got the contracts. I got the money. We got the houses. I got the whatever, the yards, stats, whatever. It don't got nothing to do with no one else. It ain't got nothing to do with no other players. I came on this journey as an individual player committed to my destiny. I wasn't worried about what he did, they did. It was about what AB was going to do, how I was going to take advantage of opportunity.
Okay.
How I was going to set my legacy. How I was
Okay.
going, in regards of everything they did, I did what I did.
So what is your legacy? You talked about legacy, so you throw that word around.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, because you're still active.
Yeah.
What's the AB legacy?
What I left for my kids. What example I set.
What example you set for your
I
kids?
stood for.
And that's a
What
real
story have you
interesting.
told about you, though?
I'm not even gonna go there.
What story do you want?
I'm still writing it. What do you mean? I'm 33
okay.
years old. It's still a lot to be done. Right now, you guys talking to me as an entertainer, rapper. I'm talking to you guys as a philanthropist. I'm educating, you know, whatever. Legacy is really what you leave behind.
Right.
You know, what you feel good about a generation, what you cause and effect. It's not how many yards I had. People ain't gonna remember. You remember who won the Super Bowl in 1978?
Oh.
Exactly. You remember?
No.
Of course. People ain't gonna remember what you did on the football field.
Well,
People remember how you made them feel. You know, my
when
people remember what I did in that moment.
AB.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me that you say that because, like, I'm learning, right? And because I would have taken you as a guy, just like your tenacity, your work ethic, and how you approach the game. Like, I would have taken you as a guy that was like, you know, because you're aware of like statistics, legacy from a football standpoint. So that's really interesting to me for you to actually go to like the path to enlightenment, where it's like, yo, that none of that stuff matters. Because I remember a Super Bowl we were in maybe it was Houston, and I ran into you Radio Row, and you came up to you and basically was like, yo, big bro, what's up? I was like, yo, what up? He was like, yo, you know I'm coming after that little record you got.
Told you it was done already.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So that to me, that's why I'm approaching that way, because it's like, I'm like, yo, I'm connected with him. He with me like, yo, I'm trying to take everything from the NFL that I can get.
Already did.
I felt like there was more though.
Yeah, like a dog eating a bone, you know, there's gonna be a couple scraps left, but he eat it till what his worth is, you heard? You know? A lot of people gonna look at my situation and my talent, you know, they like, man, you got so much talent. Cause people who got a small mind, they only see you for what you do. You only see me for AB to play football. You just learned about the music. You just learned about it. You just figuring out that, that was way back then.
2 years ago.
Of course, so it's just like a lot of things people are scared of the unknown. People wanna figure out, they feel like they figured you out, you know.
Let me just pause here for a quick second, because I mean, nice trick, like making it like people being inquisitive about your next steps makes them small-minded. No, that's just how they know you in a public forum. That's how you make money in a public forum. That's how you garner your notoriety. That's how you've introduced yourself to the world through the vehicle of sports, i.e. NFL. So that's not people being small-minded. That's people recognizing the way that they know you, right? So if you haven't introduced much else, at the very minimum on the scale that you, or, you know, anywhere near the scale that we know you from, then that's just that. But that has nothing to do with anyone else's intelligence. I think you do that a little too often, downplaying other people's brain power. Because you know, especially when you make some of the moves you make. But I'm just throwing it out there, like you should probably do that a little bit less. But it's interesting because going back to Brandon's point of, okay, well, it's interesting that you say that you're not as worried about the legacy that's particularly related to your NFL career in terms of it moving any further than it already is. That's interesting because, like he said, I know you're very, you know, stats conscious. You are aware of trying to push certain limits or trying to evidence your greatness through your accomplishments in the NFL. So is that all of a sudden not true? Which is fine if that has changed over time for you. I mean, nothing says you have to always maintain that thought process. I mean, maybe something happens and things click. All of a sudden, there's a different prioritization. This no longer matters, right? But that doesn't really jive with the whole component of you talking about you're not really done by your own choice with the NFL and want to play again, even though all the things that you say legacy-wise from the NFL you already have. So I already got the house, the car, the this, the that, the records, whatever already, but I want to play. Why? If this part is irrelevant to legacy building for you, and if there's lines that have been crossed that are your line, and you're not tolerating this as an alpha male according to you, it doesn't make sense. If you like, people have credited you with being talented musically, right? So dealing with the likes of a Madonna and a Kanye, and that sort of thing, which was referenced earlier on in this interview. So with that being the case, okay, focus your attention on those other things. Not that I'm saying you have to. I mean, who cares what I think? But it's more of like, then what's the pull to go back to a system that everyone is acknowledging, an ecosystem that's extremely toxic to the mental health, to your mental health, to other players' mental health? Why go back to that if you've achieved everything that you think legacy-wise needs to be achieved within that, and they've crossed lines for you that you feel like are your exit point? This doesn't make any sense. Collectively, individually in pockets, it all makes sense. Collectively, the puzzle is not, there's pieces that are incorrectly shaped. It doesn't make any sense. So make it make sense, which is why we get to the point of, go back to the beginning at the top of the video, responding or reacting. You're clearly reacting. And you haven't really thought this through, which is okay, but you need to acknowledge that, be accountable for that, because apparently the system is not toxic enough where you don't mind re-entering it. We understand it's toxic. We understand it. And the thing is, this is not something that's specific to NFL. This is business when it comes to African Americans, male and female, being involved in, in business, period, in corporate America, or in anything, basically, any institution that's necessary for a society to float or to thrive. So you're justifying your activity, which does not accord, like you said, your activity doesn't need justification. If, like you said, that was your ending point, you're done in this environment, there's nothing else to achieve here, and you're good. But we know that that's not true, because you said you want to play again, even though you have everything you say you want to have from the legacy of playing. And you're very talented and can do other things that you're choosing to not make primary because you want to play again. Doesn't make sense. It's not coming together for someone who is responding and not reactionary.
People is not common with the uncommon, so it's like,
right.
People living like y'all and they're trying to fight. Yo, what you gonna do next? What are you about to? What's about to happen?
Yeah, well,
You gotta call God. I don't know what's about to happen.
You gotta call God.
In this moment, I'm intuitive and I'm in tune at my high self.
I'm still interested in when you were talking about legacy, right, and what you want to continue for your children, because that's like one thing that's going on in my life right now.
Your children gotta create their own legacy.
No, of course.
My legacy as a man, what I leave back for them.
No,
at the end of the day, they gotta continue to build.
And what I'm saying is that in my own life, right, like right now, it's like I can't get the idea of kids out of my head, and like wanting to have kids and continue a family. So, of course, there's a bunch of things I don't want to continue, right? That I don't want to continue from, previous generations, or something I don't want to do. Is there something that you don't want to continue, or that you want to continue from your father, that you want to pass on and exemplify yourself and pass on to your children?
At the end of the day, they got their relationship with the world themselves. My job is to make sure I got something when I move on and they good and they could become them best.
That wasn't an answer to the question, but okay.
No, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You got a vasectomy, my boy?
Not at all, man.
What you waiting on, man?
Not at all. I just got to stay away from LA, man.
All right, let's eat. Let's break bread. Kumbaya. We got the, what is this?
Yeah, you need to bring Swaggy some type of soup or something. He sounds sick as hell.
No animal products. We took care of you, bro. So, I like to get messy on the show. I don't know, maybe we already got messy. Nick, you text me. I was like, yo.
They want to stop, man.
I was like, yo, I Am Athlete LA, gotta pull up with I Am Athlete Miami. Let's collab on this, this conversation with AB. And you was like, yo, I'm there. And then you hit me up and you like, I don't know if it's gonna go well. Cause Hollywood Unlocked captured you saying, you know, AB ass gotta be real with yourself. Like, you talking about Tom Brady. You gotta be real with yourself. So what you meant by that, Swaggy? Like, he
Tom
here,
Brady gave him a
AB
chance.
here,
I
AB
said
here.
Tom Brady gave him a chance. That's what I was talking about.
What you mean?
When he said, when he was mad at Tom Brady, but I was like, Tom Brady gave him a chance. You want to be messy.
Just want to be
Thing
messy.
I was saying, I don't think nobody else could have. After that situation, I think Tom was like the only one that could have gave him a chance.
Okay.
I don't think there's nobody else in Tom's shoes that could.
All right, let's take a pause right here. Swaggy's so full of it. See, because now you're sitting up here and Brandon had to pull a card out to be like, basically what he just said was that AB needs to take some personal accountability. That's what that quote was really about, from my understanding, is that he's saying, now you got to look at yourself because, Brady gave you a chance. And according to just what Swaggy just said, like, okay, who else was going to be able to give you the shot to come back and redeem yourself or to breathe new life into your career, to move forward in a positive fashion. So, and at this point, I almost feel compelled to stop where this is and play another clip that kind of goes into some other stuff, showing all some of the stuff from AB for maybe for people who are not kind of aware, some other things that have, on the field and off the field that has led to this I guess collective public persona and perception of AB that does not allow for the benefit of the doubt when anything happens with him. So I'm just going to hold this for a second and then switch over real quick because it's kind of relevant here. All right, so I'm about to play this real quick because this gives us context for anyone who's not kind of familiar with AB, like a little bit of context into the activity that includes the latest that just happened and like a little bit, before that with some of his past antics and things, that gives some context as to why, people look at AB with a critical eye. Let's just go forward here. This is the CBS Mornings clip.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings. By now, you've likely seen the video. Tampa Bay Bucks wide receiver Antonio Brown stripping off his jersey in the middle of a game after a confrontation with his coach.
Jumping around.
Walking off the field and walking out on his teammates. Brown says he was cut for refusing to play on an injured ankle. Coach Bruce Arians tells a different story. On the football field, Antonio Brown is a fighter and considered one of the greatest wide receivers of his generation. Off the field,
he should be ashamed of himself.
He's a team destroyer.
He is the kind of player I would never, ever want to play for.
He's a lightning rod for controversy. After his 9-season run with the Pittsburgh Steelers came to an abrupt end in late 2018, Brown carouseled around the league. In addition to rocky relationships with NFL owners and coaches, Brown also faced legal trouble, accused of sexual assault by a former trainer. Brown denies that claim. He settled with his accuser out of court. In 2020, he pleaded no contest to felony charges of burglary and battery after an incident involving a moving truck driver. And Brown was also suspended by the league late last year after allegations surfaced that he obtained a fake COVID vaccination card.
And then there was this. As you leave the field, playing against the New York Jets, I want to know what happened from halftime all the way up until that confrontation with Bruce Arians.
And there's other things that are, intermingled throughout that as well. Like this, there's this issue. If we look at this TMZ video with, him, going back and forth, being hostile with police or whatever, dealing with the mother of, I don't know if it was one or more of his children, but one of the women who mothers either one or more of his children, and he's going back and forth with the police, cussing. Like, let's take a look.
Antonio Brown cussed out the police, cussed out his baby mama, and threw a bag of gummies shaped like penises at her, all at his home this morning in Florida, and it's all on video. Like,
come on. What we doing? You a grown man.
Hey, Chubbs, here go the back.
Outside.
Fish head.
Now, Antonio Brown and his baby mama, Chelsea, have been going back and forth for a long time. They've got 3 kids together. This morning, though, cops showed up at his home. Antonio claims that she was there for a handoff of the kids, that she was going to take the kids to school. But while the exchange was going on, Antonio told police that Chelsea tried to steal one of his Bentleys.
She's here supposed to take the kids to school. She's trying to steal a vehicle. She shouldn't even be here. I let her in on the script of the kids. You want to see the messages? The kid's not going to school. She's here trying to steal in the car.
So just taking a look at that, that video there, it's like, that's a grown man. If any of this, I don't even remember what was true or not true about that situation. But at the point of you being outside talking to the police, your children, at least one of the, I'm sure you have at least one child with her. I don't know. It looked like more than one child there. In the presence of the children, you yelling expletives all across the over there to where the woman is, by the police and everything, talking to the police, grabbing props and inappropriate items around, in front of the kids and stuff like that. That's not the behavior of a measured adult. So it stands to reason why people question in some aspects your mental health, right? And it's actually kind of given a little bit of benefit. That's actually a little bit of a benefit of the doubt to say maybe there's a mental health component as opposed to you just being a subpar human being, honestly. Because even if she's there, like let's say she was there to steal a car and all this kind of stuff like that, okay, the police are there. What's the histrionics for? Like, so if she's still in the car, okay, let's get the report. Let's write it or whatever. Like the police on site, they talking to her or whatever. Kids are safe. All that extra to what end? I don't know. So, it just, these are the type of things that people have context for sometimes. Well, a lot of people have context for when it comes to thinking about this individual as a whole. And why you have to kind of remove the thoughts of certain things that he's done from a conversation about how overall mental health and how people should be treated and that sort of thing. He should be treated respectfully regardless, but some of this is just bad behavior, it appears, as opposed to, and I'm not a doctor. Some of this just appears to just be bad behavior that's enabled by talent and leverage of talent, because it appears that this behavior kind of goes away initially when you have an opportunity, and then when you feel like you have leverage, all of a sudden it appears again, right? So that's more of situational, which means you're making calculated decisions about how much of your real self to share, as opposed to you not being mentally capable, right? So you're calculated enough to know how to act when you need to act properly, but more reactionary when you feel like you have leverage. So anyway, let's continue.
Do with Tom do that could get somebody that could bring somebody back to life.
Right.
I'm saying, but when I wasn't in life, though.
No, I'm talking about when.
How he brought me back to life?
When you gave up on $30 million, that's what I was talking about.
To be a champion, though.
Yeah.
Sweat.
I wanted to be a champion, though. I already had 30 mil.
All right, let me dive in.
Come on, yeah, I'm right here.
He not laying you up.
Listen.
He not laying you up.
Swaggy said I took what Swaggy said. I should be grateful that Tom Brady, for his status and who he is, it was Kobe Bryant called him.
Right.
I feel grateful. You want to whisper to the coach?
Well,
Coach,
I feel like there's both approaches are needed depending on what you try.
Exactly.
You feel me?
Exactly.
So you got Martin Luther King, you got Malcolm X.
Nah, but we can't use that as no example. Like,
why is that?
There's some bigger than like these boys was riding for liberation. This natural work environment, my boy, like you got freedom nowadays. Like it ain't even.
We riding for liberation. Go ahead.
This is a work environment. A guy saying it. You see how football guys? He took it way back. I was a guy at the job that. This is what happened. I just walked off a job. I'm sorry. I'm a famous guy that in the job
walked off a job.
I
And
just
we
did
all
what a
know.
normal person would do at work.
Shut up. We already know. When you walk off a job from a company, it's a few different ways to do that. I've actually done that a couple times. It's a few different ways to do it. And depending on your exit determines a lot of times whether or not that bridge is completely burned or if there's an opportunity to rediscover other opportunities down the line. So boiling that down to the basic point of I just walked off a job. Fair. It's very fair and it's accurate. But just like Brandon Marshall said, the way you go about things really depends on what the outcome you're looking for is down the line. So that's just it. That's how I mean that's it. And what can you how can you navigate it, and what is your line, and what are you willing to do to get what it is that you want through that avenue or through that vein or venue or what have you, right? And each individual draws that line wherever they may, right? So yeah, let me get to this last part. And this homeboy's haircut is bananas. Wasn't ready. Wasn't ready. Yeah. But you know what? It's your style. That's you rock it. You know what? I'm not a fashion forward guru or something. So you rock that. And Brandon Marshall, I always like Brandon Marshall. The way he does his locks and everything looks great. But I'm gonna need you to touch it when you doing side profile shots. I'm gonna need you to touch that back up a little bit. Get you hey bro. Ain't nothing wrong with getting a hold of a bobby pin right fast. Like ain't nothing wrong with it. When you got hair, you want to grow it out a little bit in the back. That's cool. But bro, we ain't doing these side shots, and we ain't took care of the business at hand. You know what I'm saying? It looked like y'all had a barber on site. I mean, come on. You ain't got to, I'm not saying cut. I'm just saying do something. But we can't just be having like lock and then fro and nah. I mean, but if you want to, but I'm just saying, I don't think that was the look you was going for on that profile, that side profile shot. Anyway, moving forward.
Hey, zoom in on that man. He kind of sweaty with it.
There you go.
All right, let's end the show.
That's it.
This was phenomenal.
That's
I
it.
appreciate you.
That's it.
Who else we gotta get their flowers? Could we have a moment on the Kumbaya session? Could you give somebody their flowers?
All right, so watch the whole interview. Cool. So like, even if you didn't get a chance to watch the interview, you got most of it here just with my commentary intermingled. So if you want to see it unfiltered or unedited without commentary, then definitely go check out I Am Athlete, their full interview. Give them a view. Check them out and subscribe and all that stuff to them because I really like what they're doing with that platform. It's something special. So yeah, take a look at it. But just all in all, man, it goes down. It goes back to this, man. Antonio Brown, in a lot of ways, has a lot of growing up to do. Honestly, he's intelligent. He can articulate his points. He does not listen well. He's bullheaded. Some of that is to be expected by great individuals because a lot of times, especially when you like the concept of pit to palace, right? You have to be able to block out other things, other externalities, and really focus in on yourself a lot of times. So that's sometimes, when it comes to things that are powerful that people can use, it's a double-edged sword, right? Some of the same things that you are most gifted at can be what they would reference as a curse as well if you're not careful, right? So it's a special gift to be able to block out all externalities and focus and dive in, right? On whatever your goal, your dream, your mission is, right? And that's a gift. But to do so in such a way that is reckless when it comes to taking advice at the appropriate times or counsel at the appropriate times or understanding how to be a student of things when you are still yet developing your craft and your legacy. That is something that has to be developed, right? Not has to be. I mean, you can do what you will, but it may not be ultimately getting to where you would like to get if you're uncoachable. blaming other individuals for not being the type of OG that you would expect them to be, for not being the type of counsel that you would, packaging things in the exact way that you would want it to be packaged. I've just witnessed here in the way that you deal with Brandon Marshall that you're just uncoachable in a lot of ways. In some ways here you did open up and show some levels of respect. But I think by and large, you just do whatever the hell you want to do, regardless of, any other help that's being offered to you. Speaking directly to Antonio Brown. And I think the yes people, or like the people who kind of like cheer you on with the childish bullcrap, I think like Swaggy P like playing into it for the camera or whatever. I'm not sure if that's his real opinion or not, but it sounds like off camera he was saying that AB needs to take accountability because, hey, people, there's only certain people who could have, brought you back to a certain level of, brought your career back to a certain level of progression where you can pivot from here or what have you like that. We wasn't getting any of that during the interview. We was getting a lot of clownery, and carrying on back and forward, but not that accountability portion that Brandon Marshall was trying to help bring in. And also kind of nailing down from AB's viewpoint, hey, what is it that you're wanting us to get from this? Because this is a platform, to I Am Athlete's credit, that allows for the voice of the athlete to be heard in the manner in which they would like it to be heard, right? And with a certain level of comfort with those who they know understand them around them. So when you say, I don't care about you understanding and understand, that's not true, because we wouldn't be doing no damn interview if that was the case, right? Or you shouldn't be if you don't care what anybody else thinks, because what's the point, right? So you do care to some extent, and you do want your viewpoint to be heard. And when Brandon was trying to make sure your viewpoint was crystal clear, in my opinion, you couldn't answer it. When he said, was that your point where you said, this is the line I'm drawing in the sand and I'm good to walk away from this? I don't, because of this, because of the way I've been disrespected, I'm not allowing that. I'm not taking it. And you removed yourself. And would you be done with the sport? And you said you're not done with the sport. You want to play again, but you also in a different breath at the same time said, you've accomplished everything that you needed to accomplish in the sport. And you have a lot of other things that you attribute to yourself as a philanthropist and as a musician and all these other things, but yet you still are about to be clamoring to be back into the sport of this really unhealthy, toxic environment that is not good for your mental health. You're all over the place. And you're reacting versus being proactive. Just based upon everything I'm seeing from your viewpoint of what you're able to share with us about how you view the situation. And get it together. You need to get it together. But anyway, to the larger, that's specific to AB, but to the larger point of having the conversation of when do you walk away? Like, that's one thing that you could take away from AB is to say, it looks like in this situation, whether you believe that he calculated the proper cost or not, you can look and say there's a couple things you need to do when you're in business, in any environment, when you're not in control of your business and what have you, and you're using other vehicles to get someplace. Kind of knowing ahead of time what you believe your lines to be, your lines in the sand, giving appropriate thought to your mental health, to your health in general, not even just mental, but mental we talk about because it's often understated and forgotten and left as an afterthought. But physical health, mental health, health of people around you, your family and that sort of thing. Do you spend enough time with them? Are they thriving as well, or are you surrounded by money in a very poor family atmosphere because of that? Like, taking these things into account, understanding where your lines are so that you know when it's time to get out, at least for the moment. And then knowing how to get out that either leaves the opportunity to come back if that's something you should so choose, or makes things better for others after you, or people who are still in that situation, right? So finding a way to do that, and figure out where that line is, right? And then understanding if that line has not been crossed, how to go about doing things in such a way that you get your point across, in such a way that you don't derail your goals and the achievements that you'd hope to hit, but still fight in such a way to maintain your wellness, whatever that means for you. So, hey, that's the conversation. I think it's really important that we include that type of beyond point to the looking and studying of other people's money. It's critical, because it makes no sense to get to a certain end financially if you're not well enough to enjoy it and well enough to benefit off of it, right? So I'll leave it there, guys. Your host, E-Rains. I'll let you guys on the next one. Peace.
Be acting like you know better, blowing the smoke, but I know when the dust settles. Said I'm in my element, it's evident that there's levels to the game. All of those dark nights I got then, breaking my back to make it out, got me feeling like rain. I ain't never need your help, I know you wishing me well, a penny for your thoughts, but seeing no change. I snap for the sun like Diddy, the riches got a mad ass son, I'm like Billy. I ain't never switch up, whole team with me, putting on for my city like, oh, hey, Jeezy.